What's happening? We are born, we are woken up in a new world, a new sun is rising, and it's not surprising. Yes, man. You know what I'm saying? I'm just reflecting, I'm just talking to myself here. I'm just talking to myself because I don't understand, I'm confused. And having encounters with narcissists is deeply confusing. It's the only constant thing when you're not a trained therapist is the confusion, especially with covert narcissists. But when you have an overt and a covert narcissist that triangulate you and multiple gaslight you, you have signed in for a deeply confusing experience. And I just have to make some things clear about my healing journey so I have some insights that I also can share while ordering my experiences and thoughts. So the the terms to explain narcissistic patterns can also be confusing. So let me begin. Especially by the way, Richard Grennan said that people who encounter covert narcissists are deeply, deeply confused by this experience. And it is mirrored a little bit in the explanation, the clinical terms, and how to explain what happens within these people. All right. So, because we have when psychologists talk about this, they talk of good objects and bad objects and introjects. So introjects are voices of external factors, external voices, external relationships that the narcissist had, and they introject. Or it is simply an introject. It does not have to be a narcissist. Everybody can introject a voice. And now the bad object would be an evil, a bad voice that opposes the person, that is hostile, that feels alien. And a good object would be a voice that pleases the person. Now you need to understand the splitting nature of narcissists. This is one of the communication barriers and the huge the gap between you and the narcissist. The narcissist is not participating in reality the same way you do. They participate in their own shared fantasy world. And also, they have this splitting tendency, which means everything is all good, or a person. I mean, for them, a person is an internalized object anyway. So you need to see, it's confusing. You need to think and translate. For the world you perceive is different than the world the narcissist perceives. The narcissist has internalized objects. This is relations to other people for them, okay? And they have the splitting mechanic within them, which means a person, an internalized object, is all good or all bad. And this can switch. So one person that is a multitude of colors and nuances and emotional fullness, infinity in the narcissist, the person will be idealized as perfect, love bombed, and then later the narcissist will envy the person to death, which means they are envious and they start to hate this person, and then they need to make this person the bad object, okay? So it can switch with the same internalized object. And the narcissist has to internalize everybody or, or everything because of his false sense of self. He is grandiose, he is like God, and this is why there can't be something desirable outside the narcissist. Yet the narcissist is needy and needs external validation. But to not feel this, because this would not be agreeable for his grandiosity, because how can a god need something? He needs to internalize it. So he sees this new person, he internalizes the person as an object, and then it is part of the narcissist that he then can idealize. So the narcissist idealizes himself when he idealizes you, because you are a part of him. You are property of the narcissist. Okay? And the same is, you see this in the sexual relationships of the narcissist. They do not have any kind of interplay with you. They're just dealing with themselves when they deal with you. They use your body to make themselves feel a certain way. So you are their tool to satisfy them. But they are never satisfied because they have some conditions. So you need to understand the splitting mechanic. You need to understand they internalize people as objects and they only deal with themselves. So they idealize themselves and they have different objects within. So this is what I found confusing, the bad object and the good object. So as I understood it, the narcissist himself is the all good object. This is the grandiose self or sense of self. But they also have bad objects, especially the covert narcissist. And there is an important dynamic with the mother figure, with the maternal figure. So narcissists tend in intimate relationships to parent each other, to recreate the parenting situation from their young age of between 6 months and 2 years. And they have to recreate this because they are stuck in this process and have got a strong disturbance when they were young infants, children. And then they want to recreate this and finally overcome this and individuate and finally become whole. So the good object is the narcissist, but the narcissist also has introjected bad objects, which are people who tell him that he is or she is bad. Yeah, and this is also an explanation for this huge dissonance and dysregulation, emotional dysregulation of the narcissist, because they have these contradicting, strong differences all within themselves. And yeah, and this is why they're so vulnerable, okay? Because they have this war going on between good objects and bad objects within themselves. They don't see the way the world and other people in this way that we see them as infinite mixes of all colors and all facets and nuances of life. Yeah. So the thing is, I also said in videos that we should not focus forever on understanding our abusers and these relationships. Yet, the more we unlock, the more we can make sense of what is happening and what has happened and why these people sometimes love bomb you, then they avoid you, then they stonewall you, and so on. So the more you understand them, the more you can make sense of your past, the more you can fix the memory gaps and work on your trauma, so to say. But at the same time, sometimes you have times where you just move on and don't focus on this anymore. So, and this is the nature of healing. The nature of healing is a bumpy road, you know, and it goes back and forth. Um, and you also, the more you understand how this psyche works of the narcissist, the more you learn what kind of shadow work you have to do to deal with this in the future, to not be triggered by this, and to create boundaries that keep people away from setting up this splitting, love bombing, dopamine control, manipulative tactics. Okay, I hope I could bring a little bit of understanding, a little bit of clarity into my own thinking, and maybe also give you some motivation to dive into the terrifying, fascinating world of narcissistic personality disorder. Um, yeah, so there are these great differences. The splitting, all good, all bad. The internalizing of other people as objects. Um, and, you know, there's so many things. The identification, the projective identification they do is absolutely insane. What kind of things can happen when you're exposed to these people, what they do. And we need this external education that I'm trying to support, that I'm trying to give you, that I'm trying to apply to myself in order to evolve, in order to deal with this, in order to understand things that you would otherwise never make sense of as an intuitive, empathetic person. You will never understand this kind of weird behavior. This is why we need the external education about this. Is counterintuitive how these people act, right? Stay safe and have a good healing journey. I hope you find the right way of staring into the abyss, that is, understanding the narcissist and staring at the future, at the sun, at the rising new sun that is your life and your future.